Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode on the HighLevel Experience Podcast. Our guest today is a fellow high leveler, one of the best voice AI agent experts, and the CEO of CRM Pros, a company dedicated to helping businesses streamline their customer relationship management with clarity and ease. Based in South Florida, he has spent over 18 months leveraging and reselling a Go High Level, bundling it with custom marketing services to deliver transformative results for his SaaS clients. He's currently leading the charge in the voice AI space, building intelligent agents that don't just automate calls, but hold real conversations that build trust, real drive conversation. Stuff that we're all doing, voice AI, it's a big thing right now. So his passion for simplifying complex text makes him a standout innovator, and his approach to automation is redefining how businesses communicate with their customers. Please welcome to the show one of the best AI prompt engineers, Michael Reimer.
Thanks, Vit. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Great to have you on the show, Michael. We've been hanging out in the messenger chat in the last couple of weeks, so I appreciate you giving me a few pointers, and obviously coordination of all that led to us jumping on this podcast.
Thank you, bud. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can you, so just to kick it off, could you share like what sort of drew you to the world of like launching CRM Pros? How did you get into high level, and what was your sort of a beginning point?
Yeah, so I did 30 years on the fire department in South Florida. And at the age of 48, I had to retire due to age. So you can't work beyond that. So I sat home for about 6 months, and my wife said, "You got to get out of here." And then I started a marine company. We work on mega yachts. So I have another company where we work on mega yachts for celebrities. And my passion was to automate that, because all we do is IT on big boats. So we handle like every celebrity under the sun. And I went to a bunch of classes on automating my business, and then I fell in love with it. And I said, listen, this is for me. I stumbled on Go High Level, and I took it under my wing, and I jumped in both feet first, and here we are today. And it's basically took over. So I still have the marine company, but I don't really have to be there. I have guys that run that, and I focus on Go High Level and automation.
So yachts, there's like those expensive, fancy, big yachts that the celebrities have, and is about maintaining them and how you manage that process through automations. That's a really interesting use case.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and people, a lot of people do real estate. Well, I mean, some of the boats that we're on are like $70 million boats, so it's a lot bigger than any piece of real estate out there. So,
wow,
pretty involved. Yeah,
that
pretty
is
involved.
So I mean,
this is even more fun than that.
Oh, I know. I'm just curious, like because this is such a peculiar use case. Like, how would you use automations on? Have you got like an example of how you used automation to manage that process?
Yeah. Actually, I'll share it with you. So my very first voice AI project that I ever did was for my marine company, and just like any small business, basically we neglected the customer. The customer would come in, we would do business with them, and they would be happy and they would leave, and then we wouldn't talk to them for another year. We would never stay engaged with them. So I said, this is crazy. I said, we got to stay in touch with these people. And just like every small business, everyone's busy, and they fall off the plate. They would come back to us, we would service them, and then we wouldn't talk to them for a year. And I said, listen, we got to be more proactive here. So my very first outbound campaign was a voice campaign, because these folks have to do maintenance every year on their yacht. So at 11 months, I was sending them voice calls to schedule it. And in one day, a voice AI, it paid for that voice AI for 10 years. Because we're talking high ticket item, talking about a $5,000 service on an engine. Some of these boats have multiple. So think about it. I launched that in one day, and now it's automated. So every 11 months for that customer, they're getting that phone call, and we don't have to do it. That's the best part.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty
massive
crazy.
Leverage. Yes.
Yeah.
Staying in touch with the customers. That is a good topic, right?
For sure.
It's all about staying top of mind.
And then it grows from there.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about like how much money is being left on the table, and it's not just customers, it's referral partners that, already referred, like staying on top of customers of anybody that could potentially, help drive your business. It's a key. Yeah. So that's when automations come in, and obviously, so outbound voice AI for this. This is a great use case for outbound voice AI then.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, we're not spamming anybody. They're existing customers. They're good with it. They're happy in most cases that we're being proactive, and they're maintaining their vessel. So they were ecstatic with the process. And then,
Yeah,
like I said, once you dive into that, you start looking at different use cases, and then suddenly, we're automating a lot more of the business.
yeah. Right. Let's dive into that. Before you go down into all this voice AI, what was that aha moment that made you go all in on voice AI?
So it was kind of crazy. So we were at a seminar. It was actually a seminar on buying a piece of equipment for the other business. And I was in Nashville, and basically they had a segment, a small business segment on using AI in your business. And I didn't really know that much about it. It was a couple of years ago, and it wasn't very popular. No one really talked about it. And I went in there, and I was like kind of blown away of like some of the topics and some of the conversation there and how it could apply to my business. So then I went, I left that summit, and then I went home and I started diving into it, and I started figuring out like the things that they were saying there were like more like consumer products. It was like basic AI stuff.
Like
And
off the
then you
shelf.
start getting, yeah, off the shelf. And then you start coming in to this world that we're in, that everybody, all your listeners are in. And then, they are basically using commercial products and much more adaptable and much more customizable and much more powerful. And we found out like the sky's the limit, especially with Go High Level.
Yeah, massive opportunity, right? You're like, how long ago did you start that journey?
2 years, about 2.5 years ago.
So you've been implementing voice AI since then for about 2 years.
Yeah,
Okay,
about 2 years.
right. So you got a bit of a leg up ahead of everybody, I think,
Yeah,
because
I think it was before Go High Level was even doing.
yeah, that's what I reckon. Yeah, yeah. So most of us are jumping on this really just recently because it only just started, right? So that happened sort of, I would say, the mark was kind of like October last year,
Yeah, I remember when
around
it
that.
hit,
Yeah,
right
yeah, yeah.
before that. So I was using a third party provider before that, and I use a few of those, but I also use Go High Level as well.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty well versed on three or four of those.
Yeah. So let's start at the top. So when setting up a voice AI agent, let's just go over some of these questions because I think this is where we got to get nuanced and like dive deep, right? When setting up a voice AI agent or a chat agent, what's the like a very first step you take to ensure it's aligned with business actual goals?
All right. So the first thing is proper onboarding of the client. So that's number one. I mean, even before that, you have to sell it to the client. So that's believe it or not, that's the hard part, is to sell it to the client, in my opinion. So we'll start there. But basically, if one of the listeners is going to go out and say, "Hey, listen, I just want to do voice AI only," I don't think that they would be very successful from what I've seen, because in my experience is you have to bundle it. So not many people are willing to trust you with their phone number alone. And basically what I like to do, and it's worked very well for me, is to bundle it with 4 services: voice AI, conversational AI, like Closebot, basically, and then also reputation management and database reactivation. And the reason for that, Vit, is that every business out there has a database that they haven't touched in many years, more than likely. So if you can guarantee that business owner instant revenue by reactivating that, they're going to trust you. Okay. And we don't do that all at once. I drip that in. So we
Oh,
drip that
absolutely, yeah.
in, we drip it in, and we don't want a one hit wonder. And all of a sudden this week we got everything, and the next week it dries up. We drip that in. Then also reputation management. So we're going to handle the reviews. Again, reviews equals revenue, in my opinion. You start getting them a lot of reviews, they're getting better Google positioning, which results in revenue. They're going to like that. Then you're going to answer their phone 24/7, 365. They're not doing that now. I can guarantee you, most small businesses, 65% of the calls go unanswered. Or even if they leave a message, they don't get followed up on. So right there, you've increased revenue. And then lastly, you have a chatbot that's working on their website, but not only their website, it's working on all their channels: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and it's answering 24/7 as well, and booking to their calendar. That's a tremendous benefit. So if you bundle all those together, now you're talking. And then, they're going to trust you. Once you have success there, then you can build on other services. But then the voice comes very natural at that point. They're going to be very comfortable with you.
Hmm.
So then we onboard them. And that's very important. if you're going to have a customer that says, hey, listen, I want to do voice AI, but he doesn't give you any guidelines, you're going to be, it's like shooting darts in the dark. It's not going to go very well. So it's very important that you get the details, go ahead. But basically, once you get their details, then you develop a framework and then you deploy it. We can go into that further.
Yeah. Before we go into that, can we go in a bit more details on how you onboard them? What would be like some of the questions that you'd ask them? What would be like the key questions to ask? Like what information is really, really critical to gather so that you get this right?
I mean, the number one question that we get is like, should we give pricing on the call? That's number one. Some people say, yeah, I want to give pricing on the call. Other people say, I'll never give pricing on the call. It all depends on your industry. I mean, I do them very, very, very detailed where it'll do math on the call and give them pricing. For example, like a window washer. Oh, I have this many windows. I charge this much per window. And they can give them a roundabout estimate, and let them know and say, listen, this is a roundabout estimate. When we see the job, we'll confirm that. Same thing with roofing, pressure washing, things like that. Home-based businesses. So pricing is a big deal to folks. What else is a big deal? Well, other things that are a big deal is a lot of people in the medical field, they don't want to talk about any medical conditions. So that's kind of critical. Just their whole business operation. Every single business owner that I've dealt with is different. There's no two that are alike, and they could be in the same niche and not be the same. So some want to give a lot of information. Some just don't even want to book appointments on the call. Others want to book appointments on the call. So you have a questionnaire, you go through that, be totally clear and exactly what they want, how they want it branched, and then you build it and test it,
Go from there. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So, I mean, so sum it up for those guys listening, make sure you're taking notes, guys, because this is critical. And I am 100% with you on that. Like, cause I'm nowhere near as long in the voice AI space as you. I've been doing more of a custom build outs on the automation side, so lead nurture campaigns and remarketing campaigns and whole that lot. But essentially, the process is the same. You just got to gather a lot of info. I like to call it the information gathering stage, and you kind of want to like unpack any possible bottlenecks that they're experiencing in their business, because we can solve so many things with automations, right? We can build the workflows, what you can handle with proper funnels and all that. And so I feel like that part is not only critical, but you actually want to make sure that you spend a bit of time on it. You don't rush it.
Yeah,
Right?
I would say that's the most important time, because what's going to happen is you're going to take a stab at it and they're not going to be happy, and then you're going to do it again. And then they're not going to be happy, and then you're going to do it again. So it's better to get the information up front. It's going to be a time saver in the end. Even if it takes you a long time up front, a lot less headache in the back end, for sure. And then the other thing is that we see is a lot of the business owners, they try to stuff a lot into one voice agent. And, many times that's not really that good. You want to let the AI do its thing, give it the rules, but let it do its thing. Don't try to stuff it, because then you start running into problems. When these guys have, 5 and 10 page prompts, there's a lot of room for conflict. And that's when they go, a little off the rails. So it's better to have a real nice structure and test away, after you get it built. You have to test it.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's get into that. So, like, how do you approach prompt engineering differently for voice AI versus chat agent, and like, what are the nuances in tone, context, or structure?
So you have to think like basically almost like a machine. You're not, there's no feelings involved. So you're going to give it very specific information, very linear. And for example, you have to learn how to talk a little bit of a different language. So for example, I spell out all my phone numbers because it slows the agent down. If you just say, hey, write down, hey, what's your phone number? Well, it's 555-1212. It's going to be so fast that your head's going to spin. You're not going to be able to write it down. But if you spell it out, it's going to take it slow. You start to gather that. I have a whole note, I have a whole note section on my hard drive at home that basically has all these little tips. I run into a problem, I jot it down. I have a little database that I use, and I prompt from there. But once you get a nice format for an inbound prompt and an outbound prompt, it's pretty much the same format all the time, unless somebody comes up with something totally different. So that's how I do it. I always do 10 frequently asked questions with answers. Business profile's always the same. A lot of the rules are copy and paste. And then you have your nuances that, things don't run so well during testing, and then you have to sit there and troubleshoot those and fix them until it's perfect.
Okay. So you've got a proven process, and you're saying is that it actually is not that complicated. You have a template, and then the nuance is where it comes into. Does that mean? I mean, is there? It's almost like there's a use case for how optimized this could be, right? I mean, is it a manual process, or do you have a form that you fill in that spits out the prompt based on the parameters?
I have both. So I built a prompt generator. I built a prompt generator for myself. It's for more of a basic. It'll get it started, and then you fill in the blanks from there. So I have it running on an automation server, and I take your business place ID as well as your website. I scrape both of those. I parse them together, and then it takes my template and compares it, and then it spits out initial prompt. It dumps it onto my Google Drive, and then once I get it in markup on my Google Drive, I go ahead and refine, and then I pop it into a test agent that I have on Go High Level, a test agent. And then from there, I'll start to make calls, and I start to see if there's a problem. I'll stop the call. When I say I make about 100 calls per client before I deliver it, that's pretty accurate, about 100. And 100, they're not 100. The average call on a voice AI agent is about 2 minutes or so.
Yeah.
That's about average. Some of these test calls only last 15 seconds because if I find a problem, I correct it as I go. I don't run through the whole thing and try to make 100 corrections at once. I do one correction, recall, one correction, recall, little baby steps along the way, because I want to know what the effect of my correction is on that agent. So that's how I do it. And it seems to work very well. But that's just one way. Everyone has their own way of doing it, I'm sure.
Well, that's quality. That's for sure. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, you
hearing.
have to do it. Yeah, you have to do that. Or, yeah, people, you have to realize something is that when I'm testing a voice AI agent, for example, and I'm asking it questions, I'm coming at it one way. But when I hang up the phone and we put it live, you have 5,000 people calling that same agent, and they're coming at it 5,000 different ways. So I try to replicate that as much as possible. That's where you get the whole thing where somebody says, it ran fine for me, but as soon as they get recordings, they don't sound so good. And because they're coming at a different angle or talking different than you would talk. And it's hard to replicate that. But after you do it for a long time, you kind of know
Yeah.
how to approach it.
Okay, great. So you're trying to scale what you can scale. So you've got the form, you've got the, is that like an NHN server that you have?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a rack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Them, yeah.
Very cool. Okay. And then, so, right, this is the key here, right? What about knowledge bases when it comes to the prompting, right? Prompt is you got to build knowledge base into it. You can have a reference to a knowledge base. Can you walk through how you structured it from like, I mean, you talked about how you source the right info. That's the initial phase, the client. But like how do you go about that bit?
So knowledge bases, I ask, the only thing I really put in a knowledge base is something that's very specific to that business. So if it's specific to the niche, I don't need to know about it because the AI already knows more than we do. So for example, if you talk pest control, if you want to talk about chinch bugs on somebody's yard, the AI already knows everything there is to know about chinch bugs on somebody's yard. It'll respond perfectly. However, if it's a specific question about your home or your business or how you do a process in your business, the AI doesn't know that. So that's what we put in the knowledge base. More specific information. You don't need 100 page knowledge base for any of these agents because that will be a detriment. Because what will happen is you'll have such lag where that AI is trying to find stuff in that knowledge base and just finds a little small piece and it'll spit out a response and you'll have problems. So the more concise that prompt is, the better off, actually.
So basically, it's about realizing that those big companies like OpenAI and whatnot, they've done all the like work, they've trained it across all the world, like on the knowledge that's available all around the world. So you're saying it already would know in that example pest control business does, and I actually like that. So that means then the prompt doesn't have to be that long, and yeah, okay. So then less room for error, and it's just the specific nuances on how that one specific pest control business does their onboarding or does their process that you would consider it's very nuanced. Okay. Interesting.
And keep in mind that like, so the most of your listeners are Go High Level folks here. So Go High Level allows you to have 2,000 words in your prompt, in your main prompt area. I will tell you this. I've never gone to 2,000 words, and I've always been around 1,300 for probably 95% of the voice AI agents that I've put together on Go High Level. I would say under 10% have been over 1,700 words. If that, that would be a stretch. So there's really no reason to max that out. The initial message allows 190 characters. I very rarely go over 120 characters on initial message. So, I mean, that's just keep it brief and let the AI do the work is basically what you want to do.
Yeah. And obviously you've been doing it for a while, so you've got the data to back it up. So guys, this is solid stuff. If you are running an agency, I'm talking to you listening right now. I hope you're taking notes because voice AI is a massive opportunity right now to not only help a lot of businesses make a lot of money, but for you to make a lot of money too by servicing that. Michael, do you want to talk about the opportunity a little bit, just to
Yeah,
really get
for
a
sure.
grasp of how huge this opportunity is for the guys listening? Because
I
you've been
mean,
doing this for a while.
it's very, I mean, obviously it's very sought after right now, and it's very out, almost every company wants to do this. That's a given. I think the most effective way of doing it is if you layer the technology, meaning you have chat and voice operating, in unison. Because if you look at it, I see a lot of comments on the Go High Level Facebook group. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait till outbound, voice AI comes out." And I've been doing that for a little while, and it's a little bit tricky because number one, you don't want to get, there's a lot of people out there that'll sue you if you start calling them. And number two, a lot of people don't answer phones from people that they don't have in their phone already. So if it's an unknown number, your success rate of getting through to that customer is a lot less than sending them a text message. But everyone wants to do voice AI. It's great for inbound, in my opinion, because every call that comes in, somebody has to answer it. So inbound calling is a no-brainer, but outbound calling is going to be a little bit more tricky than most people think. But it goes beyond that. That's the thing. It goes way beyond that. Anybody on this call can build a voice AI agent with a little practice. That's the easy part. The hard part is to do actually what you do, basically build a system around that AI agent to be effective. That's the hard part, realistically.
Yeah, the handovers, takeovers, and things like that. Now, when I ask you that question, I also wanted to see if you could dive into the actual numbers, like how much business are currently willing to spend to have an AI agent. What are the conversions because you've done really well at, how you actually pitch it. You've got these cool little demo mock-up mobile phones on your website. And do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So basically, like I was mentioning earlier, every single small business has to answer their phone. One of the big oppositions that I hear, day in, day out, well, it doesn't sound like a human. It doesn't have to. They just have to answer it because I tell the small business owner that's a little bit of a doubter or has objections to it, like, sir, you don't answer the call now. So even if they don't sound exactly like a human, but they're picking up and taking message for you or even answering frequently asked questions better than any human can, isn't that better than not picking up at all? And they're picking up, 24/7, 365. Well, you're only answering the phone when you're available from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So think about that. You've just quadrupled the number of calls that you've taken in. Now, as far as how much revenue's out there, I mean, I don't want to really quote that, but the thing is how I look at it more globally. I look at it like, if you're not doing this as a small business owner, you're going to be dusted in 5 years. There's no way you could possibly even compete when everybody around you is deploying these systems and they don't have to do very much once they're implemented. I find it, you're going to struggle as a small business to even keep your head above water. No matter how good you are, you just can't compete against this technology.
Yeah. The leverage, the advantage for this or small business it goes even beyond what you just said. It's like it's not just about they don't have to do much. That's the leverage in itself. But it's like, well, they don't have to do much. That means they've got a lot more time free which means they are doing a lot more of the other stuff that they wouldn't have been able to do, which is going out to doing networking, striking up strategic partnerships, and that acceleration of competitiveness against a business that like is hesitant and doesn't want to do. It's like it goes really fast, so they're gonna squeeze you out of market actually sooner than you think.
Sooner than later. And the thing is, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of small business folks and other folks have come to me and said, you know how many people you're putting out a bit, how many jobs you're taking because you're putting AI in the business? I said, zero. I said, all we're doing is reallocating our resources in other areas where you should be paying attention, because that's how you're going to be effective. I mean, small business guy, he's one guy or two guys or five guys, he still has, 100 things on his plate. There's plenty to do. And then all you're going to do is get more and more jobs, which is going to keep the AI busy. An AI agent such as this is a very small investment for a small company. It is. I mean, if you actually, which I've done for my own company, I went out and researched call services, ones that have live humans answering the phones. I mean, you could spend, $3,000 to $4,000 a month easily before you even bat an eye. They're charging you by the minute. They're answering at 3 a.m. I get it. But the quality of the person answering compared to an AI agent at 3 a.m. is night and day. Totally night and day.
Big time.
There's no, that's the key. So you're paying about 80% less, it's 20% of the cost of a live call service to deploy one of these. And it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So we should all do it.
Yeah, right.
We should all do it.
Yeah. But like I said, I mean, the next thing is the most important aspect of it is like, kind of like I said, what you do, you're an automator. So, and that's kind of what I enjoy more than even building these agents. Building the agents is fun, but building the system around the agent is really what makes it, so you could dream up an automation and, have your whole business automated with these agents. So you could say, listen, I mean, there's a lot of little things. Like, for example, let me give you a great example. So somebody engages you on your chat widget on your website. You could program that chat widget, CloseBot being one. You could say, listen, hey, would you mind if I follow up? Instead of doing this, can I give you a quick call? And then that agent calls them, qualifies them, books them on the calendar. You wake up and you have 5 appointments on your calendar, and you never touched anything.
Yeah, that handover takeover, that's something that is very interesting. I haven't dived into it yet. I'm exploring, just thinking about it, because I had a client that I spoke to on Monday, and I was showing them the CRM and like how, for the voice AI, how we got dedicated fields to capture the call transcript, call summary, and then also all the past call summaries and all that. And then he was saying, well, what would be really cool because, even though you've got the inbox and you can scroll through all the conversations and you got notes and you got this, you got custom fields and the data is all in those places, but you still have to kind of like go through it. If there was just like one place where it just keeps updating the whole history, but like a summary of everything. So summary of all the back and forth emails, summary of all the chat messages, summary of all the calls, but like an aggregate. Because right now you can have an aggregate, but that's just for voice AI calls.
Do it. You could use Airtable and combine everything together into one big repository of conversation. So it's definitely doable. I mean, you can export that out very easily with N8N, and then you pop it into an Airtable, and you can search that. You could reapply it. You can use that to generate AI-driven conversation, meaning emails, SMSs. So it's definitely doable. The sky's the limit.
Like having a customer relationship timeline, but like really summarized.
Yes.
So without going into too much detail, so you really have what's most important, what's most critical to get you up, to get any sales rep up to speed. So it's got like a dates and a miles, and like, okay, on this date is when they got in. Like, I know we got the activity, like, what kind of shows you, people clicked on these trigger links and all that, but that's not as important. Well, let me rewind. Like, it's also important, but then it goes into a lot of detail, and it can end up being very long. Versus if this was like, well, they started here and this is how they've came through, and then this is sort of what's been discussed so far, and it's been an email, it's been a call. Yeah, that would be interesting.
You can definitely do it. I mean, you just use OpenAI through their API, and we put it into an Airtable as a summary. brief summary, you parse it however you want it, whatever data you want, it would go in there. We're using something very similar because when we're doing like nurture emails, for example, you could take that data and build that email around it. So AI builds the email and learns about it, then takes the previous conversation, learns about it, makes the next call, takes that previous call, learns about it, makes the next call. So there's a lot you can do with that data for sure. Same thing with SMS, same thing. And that's the powerful thing about it. It'll know more about that customer than you do calling them blind, like you just said. And that's the key. No more generic responses and no more generic emails. It's going to be more tailored to that person. I mean, we're one of the only ones around doing it. We're doing ringless voicemails, but they're personalized ringless voicemails. So Go High Level will do ringless voicemail, but it'd be the same thing over and over. Hey, it's Vit. Give me a ring back. We don't do that. We have a system that we built that'll do, hey, Vit, it's Mike from blah, blah, blah. We talked about this yesterday. Give me a ring back. And it leaves a ringless voicemail. The next one, it'll do 5,000 of those in a minute. And every single one of them is different and leaves them a ringless voicemail. That's pretty powerful because when people have a missed call on their phone, they call back. And when they call back, then they get the AI. The AI talks to them and books them on the call, on the schedule. So
Wow.
that's the way to do it.
That's incredible. So you're really covering all the bases. You get a lead you're running a Facebook lead. They come through. They don't pick up. Do this ring. Wow. Okay. Well, how would you go about setting that up?
Every one of them is different. But what we're doing right now is we're like, I think I mentioned to you a few days ago, we're working with a big law firm right now, and we're building out a massive automation and mostly, lead generation for personal injury area. And that's encompassing every single technology out there. I mean, we're hitting them every single possible way. I mean, there's ways that you haven't even thought of that we're hitting them. We have an API going into handwritten postcards that are getting delivered to their houses based on the AI. So the AI writes that, sends it through API to one of these robots that write those, and then they have a service that automatically mails them. It has a QR code.
Well, actual robot that manually writes the cards. Are you joking?
Yes.
No way. Okay. Wow. Yeah. We're really getting into the weeds of it.
Yeah. And then because, the way I look at it though, Vit, is this: every single person out there is different. You may like to talk on the phone, but other people, they want to text. Other people want to scan a QR code, or some people might want to fill out a form or even book an appointment on a calendar. Everyone's different. So I'm trying to hit them from every single angle, give them all the options along that journey, and eventually they're going to take it. So that's what we're trying to do. It seems to be working very well.
You're making it sound like it's so simple.
It's not simple, but once it's up and running, the key is once it's up and running, it's kind of funny. The people that we're working with, like, oh, once it's up and running, you should be good to go. I said, well, sir, we'll never be done because the technology is changing so much. So much. I mean, it's never going to be over. New creatives. I mean, you're a creative guy. The creatives have to change, keep up with the times. Everything has to be just so for these people to interact with it. What's great today in 30 days may not be so great. So, that's how that works. So are we working ourselves out of a job? We'll always have a job because every week, you see how many features Go High Level brings out every week.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nuts. I mean, that's a full-time job in itself right there,
Absolutely. Wow. Okay. So when I was like, I was looking forward to this conversation, and I knew we are going to go into a lot of AI nuances, but like that, yeah, you've just told me something that I've never heard of. So that's really cool. Wow.
But on those cards, they're handwritten to the person, so they're getting delivered to their house. And a postcard is very inexpensive to mail in the States, so it's very inexpensive. It has to be a certain size, and it gets delivered. That's the cheapest way you can mail something. But on that postcard, it has a few items too. It'll have a QR code because somebody might want to just scan a QR code. That QR code could do a lot of things. It can call the AI from that QR code. It could go to a booking calendar. And then we're doing a lot of that where like text win to, 555-121, one of those type of things. We're doing a lot of that. So they could text. And then once they text, then we have their phone number, and then you could go ahead and nurture them from there.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Wow. Okay. Any other really interesting way that you want to share? Like This is one, obviously. I know, like you could do like like for us in Australia, unfortunately, we don't have that service. But when I was last Level Up Summit, there was a few vendors that offer merchandise, so custom branded merchandise, and basically ordered on demand. But you literally have it as a workflow action in the automations. So then you can have it as part of the welcome sequence for customers. 1 month in, send them a nice T-shirt. 3 months in, send them a nice coffee mug. 6 months in, send them a cool metal NFC enabled business card. Cool little things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Go High Level actually did a little workshop about that recently, I think in the last 60 days, which I implemented it on my account. So there's a few vendors that are in Go High Level in the marketplace, and they have integrations that are pretty easy to do. And like you said, it's really nice. I mean, what's a couple of dollars if they're spending money? Want to give them some swag, and they're advertising for you on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of that, when do I get a T-shirt?
Well, this one.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I want to go back to the techie stuff in terms of setup. We kind of segue from it. I wanted to segue because I wanted you guys, like, as you're listening, if you know that's techie and nerdy, then if we just keep dragging on that bit, then you might lose us. So I wanted to slice in a little bit about the opportunity to get you kind of listening more. So I hope your ears are sharpened up a little bit more, and you're going to be taking more notes, because now we're going to go back to the techie stuff. So question is about the action. So, one thing is like responding and, having a conversation with AI, and that's great. But the other thing is actually what you want the AI to do. So can we once the knowledge base is set and you got it programmed, how do you configure the action-based responses, like booking appointments, sending text, or escalating to human agents?
So I always try number one, almost 100% of the time have an option for a human transfer. But when you're programming that, a couple of tips would be, keep in mind, you'd frustrate a caller very easily if you transfer them and they go to a voicemail. So you have to prompt that to let them know, the caller, that you're going to transfer it. And there's a chance that you may get a voicemail. We're good with it. And we're going to get that voicemail. We're going to call you back. Let them know that up front. Or you're going to transfer it and going to go to a voicemail. They're like, what the heck? I just was on the phone. Now I got transferred to the voicemail. You got to make sure you prompt that and take that into consideration. As far as booking appointments, I love booking appointments on the call. That's a huge time saver, and soon enough, you'll be able to reschedule. There's a little workaround right now on Go High Level to reschedule an appointment. It's going to become native pretty quick here. So that's a huge benefit.
Yes, because the booking appointments only just happened 3 weeks ago. That's a new feature just been enabled. I'm talking High Level natively, right? Other vendors already had it. Okay, so rescheduling, there we go. Well, yeah, that's a use case, isn't it?
Yeah, and then what's coming down the pike, because we're doing a lot of the testing for Go High Level right now, and what's coming down the pike next is going to be whisper transfer to another agent. So you can transfer agent to agent, but that second agent will know the conversation from the first. Or if it gets transferred to a human, it will tell you a summary of the conversation before you pick it up, a whisper transfer. And then that's going to be a big deal, because that'll allow multi-calendar booking. So, you go to a salon and a salon has 20 barbers, you have to have 20 calendars. So that's going to be coming down as well. So they're making some headway. But that call transfer, to another agent and call transfer to a human with whisper is going to be coming out pretty quick, and that's going to be really nice. That's going to be a game changer.
And as this is getting more complex, this increases our importance of us, the actual agencies who are going to be setting this up. Because like my thought was like a couple of months back, as these new cool features getting better at from the user experience, how you set this up, how you set it up, I was like thinking, GHL is getting like really good out of the box. It almost sounds like businesses could kind of help themselves, but now I no longer think that. Because as this is getting more complex, because they don't live in this space, so that's what you're gonna need us more. So yeah, this is.
Well, even agencies as well. I've never, when I first started getting into Go High Level, I thought I was going to be, I was going to handle customers only. I didn't think I would ever have to deal with another agency. I never really thought that. And now most of my clients are other agencies, and the reason for that is mostly they want to sell. and they don't want to deal with all the behind the scenes stuff. So they'll call us and say, listen, I got this crazy AI thing we need to set up, and then I will get on the phone with their customer, just like I'm them, just like I work for them, and it's white labeled basically.
Yeah.
And I speak with their customer directly, because that's kind of one of the things is, if it's very complex, I want to speak to them directly and get the real information, because I think we'll have better success rate at that point. And then we do the work and they're happy, and, they get reoccurring revenue, and, we get a portion of the setup, and that's been a lot of our work, besides custom setups, but
Yeah.
that's been a lot of our work, which I never envisioned.
Yeah, well, I can definitely relate to this. When I was starting to build my systems, my operations, and I knew I'm always like agnostic. So like, even though I wasn't planning to build a snapshot to sell it, I was like, I'm gonna build it as a snapshot, because if I want to change this later down the track, maybe I'll rename them my brand or whatever. Or I get, you never know what can happen that you may need to make a change. So, but yeah, and then suddenly now I'm like, yeah, selling snapshots to other agencies, and now actually a new sort of a service. Well, I've done a little bit of that, but now it's like this up one agency on that system that you helped me out with, the water treatment one, right? Let's build it out. They went to conference, they smashed it out of the ballpark. They got a lot of interest, and now like, what would make you happy to be our fulfillment partner? And so now we're going through that process. Now only
Yeah,
if I
so
can.
that's kind of exactly what I'm talking about. Now, like I said, your main goal and that's your main focus, is to help other agencies. And listen, is at the end of the day, as long as everyone's happy, the client's happy, the other agency's happy, and you're happy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it's about, right?
that's right. The only question is, how do you make it scalable, right? That's always tricky. So you got to build a team around you. That's one. Processes, that too. But I'm thinking, is it like you do get maybe like getting even more techy, right? With having private NHN server to get more advanced stuff done.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of. So what we're doing right now is we're moving a lot of for the law one that I was mentioning earlier. So we're moving a lot of automations, advanced automations, that some of which Go High Level can't handle. We're moving those off to NAN servers, and the reason for that is twofold. Number one, we're in the client's account a lot. So we're in the client's account. If we put all of that automation into that client's account, if all of a sudden they don't like us anymore, or they say, I could do this myself, they have that automation, they can copy it. If it's on my NAN server, they never see that. I can keep that whole client account empty on Go High Level, but my N8N is running it, off site, and it's also backed up. That's a lot better for us because we're protected as well. So if they say, hey, I think I can do this myself, or what have you, our IP is protected, and that's in our agreement anyway. I mean, we're not hiding the fact that we own it. So it's a little protection as well.
That's an important information. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about major clients, and the other thing is too, like even with VAs and other subcontractors, we're segmenting that. So there's not one contractor that knows our entire system. So we're building that in pieces, and then we bring it together and piece it together. So one contractor may be working on one little piece, or one VA might be working on one little piece, another one's working on another little piece, and then we bring it all together and we put them together on the server. But never would they all see the entire process, which is very extensive. I mean, all it takes is 1 second for them to copy that, and then they have my entire work history for years. So that wouldn't be good.
So this is not only common sense, but also I'm wondering, have you ever been burnt?
Well, I mean, I think everyone has, right? So essentially, everyone's been burned. I've been burned in business. Yeah. I've been burned in Go High Level, as far as like, by some of these guys that are, trying to be VAs, and you pay them for things and then they vanish. So you kind of learn the hard way, and then you kind of get savvy to it after a little while. So, I'm never going to be burned again. If anybody approaches me on Go High Level, either they better be reputable, or, essentially you could do the work, and when the work's done, it's approved, I'll pay you. I mean, I have no problem doing that, but I'm not going to be like, pay me up front and then I'll do the work. Those days are over.
Right. So big redundancy setup. Very interesting. Okay. Because I'm kind of like that as well. I like to like make sure, because it's a being responsible as a business owner, right? Like you got an obligation towards your clients. but you also have an obligation towards your business, especially if you got team and employees, because now you have an obligation
Exactly.
towards that. And so if you get those big client that paying you high ticket, well, now you have to build a back end team to fulfill for that client. So they drop you, those people are going to be out of work. So as many reasons why you want to implement redundancies. Yeah. I don't hear many people talking about this topic though. It's really interesting. Like it's over, like I am kind of like that. I'm always like kind of a little more protective side and things like that. But I haven't heard many people talking about this stuff. But it's important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of N8N server involvement over the next year. It's super powerful. It'll do automations that N8 that Go High Level can't handle and there's no integration for. Easy to build, no code, and they're very, like I said, very powerful. So we host our own servers on racks. They're not expensive, and then you could back those up every night, which we do. And then for the large clients, like I said, we have them on 2 servers and they're mirrored. So if one goes down, it flip flops to the other. So there's no interruption in service. Because I'm talking about clients that are spending $1 million a month in ad spend. So they don't want to have an interruption. That would be catastrophic. If all of a sudden all their automations just stop work with those kind of leads coming in, those leads are very expensive.
The other benefit is you can have it locally on a server. So if you go to government, if you go to business, if you've got a client that is dealing with business like defense, then they have obligation towards data privacy security. Like I know, for example, here in Canberra, talking to some businesses that they do, government grants, things like that, and they do some work for defense. That means, Australian defense would require you to have everything stored locally, not in US, not in anywhere, in Australian server, right? So that's a solution to that problem.
Yeah, for
So you
sure.
can still provide high level as a shell, as the function, but then any more advanced stuff or the workflow related stuff could be on the back end down through N8N on a server hosted in Australia. But then that's still on you. Like then still it's still a responsibility. Then like if you got the high level related, then it's kind of like, well, you're spreading the responsibility across, because it's like they as a vendor have obligation to provide, and because they're huge, then common sense be like, well, if something goes wrong, because they've got all us agencies on it, they're probably like they need to get their shit together too. So there's pros and cons, I guess, but like if you have it on your own server, then you're on your own.
Yeah, I mean, I like having it on a secure rack because those guys are very good at doing. You can have it on a dedicated rack or a shared rack, depending on the level of service that you need and speed. I mean, for the average listener here, they're going to be it on a shared rack. I mean, and you're talking, very inexpensive. You're talking to have a shared rack on a facility. You're talking to host N8N would be, $30 setup and $6 a month to learn it. And then you could run everything on that. And then if you want more advanced, you can get your own server on a rack, and then you can increase the speed and the capacity as well. The other option with N8N is you could do their cloud service, which they have their own servers and that's even better, and that runs around $60 a month. But the good thing there is they have AI built into that. So their AI into that helps you code as well, like do some troubleshooting and coding as well. So for the $60, it might be worth it.
Right. So you can literally I could literally have my own server here on premise. That's on me, but I got to have those redundancies. I could work with a third party that has servers built around. I know like there are some hosting providers in Australia that are really solid and they do like WordPress stuff, and they are, they are based on an infrastructure that like airports use. So they actually have, freaking generators. If the power goes down, they got redundancies on those things as well. And then you got the cloud ones, which is like the big ones, your Amazon
Exactly.
servers, your those. So is that the ones that you use?
Yeah. So basically, like I started out on a home-based server. So the good thing about N8N on a home-based server, you buy the server and the N8N software is free. I mean, it's open source. You could pop it on there today and you're up and running, and there's no fee, there's no charge or whatever. And they come out with updates and you just keep it updated. But the problem with that, like you just mentioned, if you have an internet issue, you have a power issue, your clients are down. That's great if like you're just going to be using it as a test cell or test server and do some development. But for deploying on the client, I'd rather, bare minimum, I would put it on a rack. I mean, for the $6 a month and you don't have to deal with it.
Can you
log
clarify what
in.
you mean by when you put it on the racks for the guys listening?
That's a hosted server,
By
but it's
another
shared
by another vendor.
by a vendor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by
So
a
you
vendor.
log in remotely, you format, they'll set it up, but you format your own little portion of that server. You load the software, but it's next to somebody else too. So it's shared. And then the next level up from that would be you have your own. No, nothing else is on there except for your agency's data. That's it, dedicated server. That would be the next level. And then, like I said earlier, N8N, you can go to their website right now and you could sign up for their cloud-based, which allows you that you could be up and running in 5 minutes. They keep it all running, all up to date, all backed up, and they have AI built into that. If you have some nodes, which is a small portion of how like kind of like an action in Go HighLevel, a node in N8N is that. Some of them require some code. If you want to do some advanced things, their AI helps you with that, which is pretty good. But that's like I said, that's about $60 a month. But $60 a month, I mean,
oh, it's nothing. Yeah,
it's nothing. Come on,
we're talking.
come on.
Yeah, what are we talking about here? Yeah, that's.
I mean, I wouldn't even want to buy a server for my house. I'd rather just pay the $5 or $6. Deal with it.
You
Because
get
what
to
happens with that
sleep. You
server?
get to sleep at night. I mean, there's also the third risk, which is somebody breaks into your house or
And
physical
steals it.
damage. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's just way too many things. Like, yeah. Well, now we go down the rabbit hole of like a super techie setup. Okay, what do we say to those guys who are now feeling overwhelmed? I mean, is it something
Well,
that you
listen,
have to
hey,
have? You don't, right?
no, let's start with the basics. I mean, honestly, let's start with the basics. There's going to be a lot of listeners on here that this is going to be their first exposure to any of this. I mean, that's how I started. I'm sure that's how you started. So, number one, if I'm on Facebook, they're more than welcome to reach out to me at any time. I'll try to help them the best I can. If they're actually nice to me, I'll say, email me the prompt and I'll look at it. Believe it or not, some people reach out to you, they're not so nice. And it's like, but anyway, to make a long story short, I understand that there could be their first exposure. So start out with the basics, practice, set up one agent, get a phone number, program it, do the prompting. I'm right now in the process of working with Go HighLevel. I just wrote 110 prompts for them where they're going to put them with all their snapshots. So every one of their free, their templates are going to have a voice template with it, a voice prompt with it included. So it'll be niche specific, like an electrician, a real estate, coaching.
Template library for voice AI agents. I love it. So you're gonna
Yeah.
help them develop that.
Yeah, I already did it. I've already done them. Right now, those little demos that I do, those little demos.
Oh, yeah, they're great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing them as
So
well.
right.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. So now they just signed me up to do those for all 52 snapshots. So each one of them will have a demo. So which they're going to put on their website. So that's good. So the key here is there's templates out there. You could use that template. And then for the first time user, just take that template and just fill in the blanks and then make calls and then make changes. Don't write a story.
Because you said it. I mean, having something is better than having nothing. And if you're missing calls already, like there's no point being, emotional or like, subjective about like, it doesn't sound good or whatever. Like,
right.
Well, it's helping your business, doesn't it?
I mean, I've seen some, can you hear me? Yeah, I've seen some crazy ones, even in the commercial sector where you call the cable company, you call the hotel chain, you call all of them, and they're 100 times worse than Go HighLevel ever would be. And they still deploy them. And you know what? They're probably paying 100 times more money than you are at Go HighLevel. So, to me, I've heard a few really good ones, but the majority of them aren't so good. And these big companies are putting them out there. This is an opportunity for a small business to put pretty decent quality product out for not a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Or even like hit up those big companies and say, hey, look, let me fix it up for you.
Yeah. Honestly, there's a lot of guys that are doing franchises. The challenge there is that you get the first, first franchise location and then corporate sees it and then they take it and model it after what you just did. That's the hard part with franchises, but sometimes you get them.
Right.
Yeah. But
because they know the scale, so it's like, well, yeah, we do it.
Yeah, we could do it.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. So we really unpacked a lot of detail here, and I feel like we've unpacked detail for a lot of range here as well, for range of different agencies here listening. So the beginners, you got stuff out of the box, and HighLevel is great. You want to go a little bit more advanced. You want to start tinkering with third-party vendors for chatbots. There are a whole bunch. I mean, a previous episode, I interviewed Bryce Decora. So, if you guys are want to learn more about Closebot, then definitely listen to the previous episode with Bryce Decora, because, he's dove into a lot of...
There's nothing better than his product out there. I mean, in my opinion, but
Yeah, I mean, based on what I'm hearing, I mean, I spoke to him. I've been looking at other things. Definitely on the voice AI agents, there's a range, I would say.
yeah.
Did you want to maybe talk about maybe some of the...
Yeah, I could talk about that. So basically, let me back up. So essentially, let's talk about Go HighLevel first. So Go HighLevel, obviously, they're only doing inbound calls. They're using SynthFlow as their provider. So when people say, "Oh, I'm going to go to SynthFlow," well, Go HighLevel is SynthFlow. I mean, they're using their API, they're bringing it in, and that's what they're using. So when they do outbound, if they ever do outbound, it'll more than likely be SynthFlow unless they change vendors. They're using 11 Labs for their voices, because I hear a lot, I see it online, guys are like, "Oh, I don't like the voices. 11 Labs is way better," but Go HighLevel is using 11 Labs voices. So the good news is that, I think Go HighLevel went to around 170 voices now total. And then they're always open to adding some more. So if you go to 11 Labs and you get that voice ID, if you send that in, they have a good chance of adding that voice for you as well if you have a use case for it. Now, So that's them. So now we just covered Go HighLevel, but we also just covered SynthFlow. So SynthFlow is another one. And basically, they're a third party. You could private label that as well. So they have a portal where you sign up for X amount per month, and you could private label and rebuild just like Go HighLevel. You can go in there and rebuild and mark up the AI and sell to other agencies or other customers or whatever you'd like to do, but you private label. They have that available. Then you also have retail. Retail's another one that's very popular. Everyone seems to like them as well. I haven't had that much experience with them. I've built a few agents on both their inbound and outbound. But my preference overall for the highest quality, but it's a little more challenging as far as prompting, is going to be Vappy. I mean, Vappy, it's not in a very nice wrapper, but it's very, very high quality and very controllable. And that's kind of what I like. Now, let's take a step back for a second. Well, where are these guys getting it from? Well, they're only getting it from, basically, when you look at it, they're repurposing two major sources for their AI. So they have LiveKit would be one. They build out what's called a LiveKit server. That's who Vappy and SynthFlow, all these guys are using primarily. And so they're repurposing it. And then on the other side of that spectrum, you have all these little companies that you see that, you go scroll through your Facebook and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm selling AI. I'm reselling it $39, $29. They're all just either reselling it or building small agents and selling them.
Yeah. And there's pros and cons of everybody, right? Those smaller ones, you probably get more hands-on support because now they're invested in keeping you. It's pros and cons, right?
There's a lot more voice providers coming out, besides 11 Labs now. You're starting to see more of those. 11 Labs is pretty decent. I think they're doing a good job. You can clone.
Another one is Thinker AI. The guy's Mohan Gulati. I interviewed him a couple of months back. Yeah, Thinker. Yeah, yep. Pretty good out of the box. Works pretty well. And like I said, pros and cons to everything. So ultimately, you guys listening, if you're thinking about, what's the best solution? I mean, to me, out of the box GHL is a good starting point, but then you run into some limitations when it, for now at the point of making this video anyway. But yeah, some of the other ones are definitely good to explore. So go and explore. Find the episode from a few months back. Listen to what Mohan and Rahul from Get Shit Done. These guys are doing work with Mohan. So, reach out to Michael. So many options.
Yeah. I mean, also like on the Vappy, I think they still run a plan where you could get a certain amount of minutes free every month that they don't even charge you. So I think it's 1,000 minutes. So you could run demos on that and you could practice with it and you could see what it's all about. And then you can make the decision from there, and go from there and see what you really like. I mean, the reason I offer it, I stagger the offers. I do, some people, they don't really need more than GHL. That will do it for them. And it's inexpensive, but realistically, the big advantage of using Go High Level Voice AI is it integrates so easily with everything else around GHL. So, workflows and just everything about it. It's simple. And it's all in one place. There's a lot of clients out there. They don't want to have accounts in 50 different areas. They want to have it all in one bucket. And that's the selling point with Go High Level. But a lot of people, 75% of the people would probably be all well and good just on Go High Level. And then, for those other ones, well, I like to go with Synflow or Vappy, in my opinion, mostly Vappy, because like I said, Synflow is the same as Go High Level now since this recent update. So if you go to Vappy is definitely, I mean, you'll notice a little bit of a difference there, a lot of difference.
Right. But there you go.
That's like way high over.
So when you're comparing, like, how do I make my mind? What am I looking for? You need to consider the ease of setting things up, the ability to go more complex. So that's when you go like N8N and things like those. That's where you can really have, there's no limits. It's really comes down to your engineering skills, I guess. You gotta consider the availability of voices because they're nuanced. Like I know, for example, maybe in Australia, serving Australian businesses, there's maybe 8 voices available, and out of those, the female voices, male voices, there's only a few that actually I do like. So that's a limit. I know you guys in US, you have a lot more options, so good for you. But yeah, so you got to consider voices and options. You got to consider maybe even the redundancies and stuff if you're doing like bigger clients, like you have that law firm. I mean, that it's almost like you need some sort of a matrix that helps you, like, not like Matrix as a movie, but like the routing, like, if this, then and it can help you decide, like if you're listening as an agency, or like, what do I make of this? Where do I go from here?
I mean, basically what I do is, when I go out and try to make make a sale or a pitch to a client or prospective client, is I ask them, is voice quality the highest priority, or is cost involved in that as well? So if they say that they're more budget, then I'm going to Go High Level. If they say, listen, money's no object, I don't care. I mean, I'm paying X amount per lead anyway. I want the best of the best sounding. Then I'm going to tell them right there. Then there's not even a question. We're going to go Vappy, and that's it. The other thing is, you got to keep in mind, if you have a client that comes to you right out of the gate and says, listen, I want to do inbound and outbound. I'm not going to put them on Go High Level for inbound and then put them on Vappy for outbound. I mean, they're going to complain about that. It's not the same. I mean, if they're adamant about being budget conscious and as well as doing outbound, I would put him on Go High Level because it's integrated. And then I put him on Synflow outbound because it's going to sound exactly the same. It's the same system. Mm-hmm. So it'll merge very well together. But like I said, if prices, if quality over price, I'm going Vappy. And that's just how I do it.
Yeah. That's great. A lot of technical detail here you provide. So thank you for sharing all this.
Yeah, no worries.
Let's see what we're on time. I wanted to dive in just one more area. If we have, we got a little bit of time if we wrap it up. I'm gonna skip some of the segments today because this is good stuff. The business model side of things on your end, like as an agency, are you willing to share how you go about, generating leads, how you're selling this? What are your approaches? What works?
So I'm going to tell you something. So I'm in a little bit of a different situation. I do basically 3 things. Number one, remember I told you I'm in the marine business. So we're at a major marina, and we have 720 vessels there at this marina where our office is. But everyone that owns a boat like that normally owns a business that can support a boat like that. So a lot of the connections that I've made have been through networking in that business. They could own a major contracting company. They could own a major plumbing company, electrician company, all that. What I found on the AI side, on the voice side, I'm a little bit less niche specific when I'm dealing with voice. I don't only do voice for electricians. I do voice for pretty much everybody. And it kind of seems to go that route now. So that's one way. Now, I landed our largest client, and quite potentially being the largest client in Go High Level history, which was the law firm that I was mentioning, that was I stumbled on it. I was wearing a Go High Level hat, just general conversation, started talking about Go High Level. One gentleman that was there said, "Oh, I just signed up last week." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And then we got talking, and he does ads, and we kind of hit it off. They're like, "We want you to be in a meeting next week." I went to the meeting, and then a couple of months later, we signed the deal. So that was just a by chance meeting. However, the attorney that was there was a previous customer of ours, or is a current customer.
That helps.
Basically. Yeah, that helps. So that's that. And then honestly, I'll be totally honest with you, is I try to be helpful to people, and it comes back around. So, yeah, I'm on the Go High Level group. I try to help out as much as I can, but I get in and from that, not just Go High Level. I mean, it's everywhere. That's just one small piece of it. But if you try to be helpful to people and you try to do the right thing, give them a few minutes of your time, it seems to come around. And I really don't have to do much outbound, but we're going to start doing some, but we're kind of flooded right now. So we're good.
I feel like I wish you could, do you ever feel like I wish I could clone myself?
Of course. How that goes. I mean, one of the things I enjoy about this is that, you don't have so many people to worry about. You worry about a core group, and you do a great job, and that's it. You can sleep at night and not have to worry so much.
Yeah. And have this amazing lifestyle. We could do it from anywhere. So
yeah, exactly.
If we wanted to. Michael, there's so much more we could talk about, and nerd out on, but I'm aware of time and everything. So let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for for being on, mate. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge. It's invaluable. There's so many of us that we need help with this stuff, and there's some growing pains and just trying to grasp. And you've helped answer a lot of questions today. So I really, really appreciate you. And you've been tremendously helpful to me as well over the last, how long have we been in contact?
Couple months or so.
Yeah, we started about 2 months back, and you've been very, very helpful. So I really, really appreciate that, man.
No problem. I really appreciate it too. I mean, this is what it's all about, right? Helping each other and
exactly. Yeah. Like I've helped you out with some stuff as well. So we're helping each other. So, but you don't see it as much in this space. Some people are kind of like, the moment you put something in a group, they're like, DM me, and then here's my invoice, and then they go straight for that.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
So let's wrap it up, mate.
I appreciate you having me, though, Vit. Thank you, and appreciate the listeners too.
If you had like one final piece of advice that you'd want to anything you want to say, it's got on an ending note for the guys. This is message for the guys listening. This is your time.
Yeah, I would say one of the things that I would say is you got to go for it. You can't, you're never gonna succeed not giving it a shot. So you got to go out and give it a shot. I mean, even if you fail, you're not really. I mean, really, at the end of the day, what are you messing up? A voice agent. So practice makes perfect. Give it a shot and don't overthink it. I think you'll be successful.
Beautiful. I love it. Oh, we totally forgot to throw in the offer into the. Did we? What do we want to do there? Do we want to do anything?
Yeah. So I'm do something for your listeners. So essentially, normally I have a fee for the prom stuff that I do. I'm going to give them a Vit discount, which is going to be 50% off of that. In addition, I have a little giveaway for everybody, and we'll post that as well, a URL where you can get that. It's a nice little voice AI guide that covers everything A to Z for small businesses. And then, if somebody wants to engage it anything further, we'll do something where, they can get unlimited voice agents built, and we'll handle the whole package for them at a reduced rate as well. So
awesome. I love it. So guys, what we're going to do, I'm going to organize these details with Michael after this for you. Well, at the time of you listening, it's already up there. Just head over to highlevelexperience.com/Michael Reimer, in just one word, MICHAEL. I'm shit at spelling. Can you do it for me, mate?
Yeah. MICHAELREIMER.
That's right. So highlevelexperience.com/
Michael Reimer.
That's it. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode on the High Level Experience Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please share it with your fellow agency mates and other high levelers that you think would also benefit from listening. For show notes, links, and extra tips to help you grow your agency with SaaS or high level, please go to highlevelexperience.com. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day, everybody.